Hi, everyone. So today we're going to be looking at working smarter, not harder with your Google Forms and your Google Sheets. So many of you may have tried Google Forms in your classroom or in your professional and personal life. I absolutely love and adore Google Forms. They change the way I do everything in my job, how I organize some of the committees I'm on in my personal life. It just doesn't get any easier with Google Forms. But the power of Google Forms is really powerful. The Google Forms are very powerful by themselves, but we are going to be talking about some add-ons that make your use of Google Forms even easier and your life more efficient. So we're going to get started. So today we're going to be looking at apps and extensions. And so the first one we're going to be looking at, the difference between, sorry, before I jump ahead, the difference between the apps and extensions is an app basically runs all on its own. It's something that's completely standalone, while as your extension is something that helps improve the functionality. It changes it of a tool that's already in your Google environment. So we're working with Google Forms, and then we're going to be working on using add-ons that actually just change the way Google Forms is used. Okay, and the ones that I use today that I cannot live without for forms are Choice Eliminator, which I really, really love. Form Limiter, which I use every time I make a form. Form Values is the most time-saving add-on that you'll ever use. And then there's Form Notifications. All of these options on the resource that I created for you are all linked. So you'll know just by clicking on it, it'll take you to the Chrome store, and you can just simply add it to your Google Form or Google Sheets. And then Remove Blank Rows and Roll Call in Google Sheets are two that you can use. I don't tend to use Remove Blank Rows. That doesn't happen to me very often. But I do use roll call quite frequently, and we'll look at that. So the first one we're going to look at today is Choice Eliminator. So Choice Eliminator is really handy if you are trying to create time slots for something, or you're trying to limit the number of people who can access something. And this works really well for in school or for your personal life. So let's say in school, if you were trying to have your students sign up when they could do student conferencing with you for an independent study project, you would list all of your different, create all these different options in your Google form. And then the form or Choice Eliminator, once somebody chooses a time, so say you selected Monday at 2 o'clock, the next person who comes into the form, they don't see Monday at 2 o'clock because you only said, no, I only have one time slot open for Monday at 2 o'clock, and that's it. Or you're having a team party for your sports team or for your athletic banquet or your club banquet, and you don't need 25 packages of buns. So you say, I need 4 packages of buns, I need 8 salads, and I need 10 different types of cookies. And then when people log into the form, the first ones who log in are going to see all of the options, but everyone else, as they log in later, will see limited number of options until there's only a few left. Okay, so we all know to get to a Google form, you go click the new button. And even though I use Google Forms like daily, it's always going to show up under the More, and you click on Google Forms. And we're going to talk about, we're doing Choice Eliminator. Okay, so we're going to talk about the party. And we're going to let people have the option of bringing pizza. They can bring chips and dip. They can bring nachos. And they can bring a veggie platter. And let's say they can bring a fruit platter. Now, there are 2 ways you can go about getting your add-ons. So in the resource, where'd it go? In the resource that I gave to you, you can just simply click on the link and it will take you to the Chrome store. And then for you, it won't, if you don't have it, it won't say installed. You just click on that button and it will install it. The other way to do it is to go to these 3 dots right here and then click on Add-Ons. And it just automatically takes you to the Chrome store and you search for the add-on that you want. And so you would type in Choice Eliminator and it would come up. Okay, so there's 2 ways to go about it. So let's say, this is a really easy form. That's all we want to know. So you would select on the puzzle piece and you click, and it's your add-ons, and then you select Choice Eliminator. You need to configure it. Okay, so we click on Party and we start to eliminate. Okay. So now we have to say we're working with the question party. We want to eliminate choices and we have to click the cog. Okay, so here it's asking us for how many people do you want to be able to bring pizza. Right now, it's always set to 1. So as soon as someone selects pizza, then it's no longer an option. But if you have a really large function, you might need 5 pizzas. So let's say we need 5 pizzas. We want, 2 chips and dips, 2 nachos, and 1 and 1. And that's it. And that's it. And then we're going to go to the preview of the form. And I think I wanted 2 nachos. So I'm going to select nachos and hit submit. Okay, good. And then I'm going to hit preview again. And I'm going to hit nachos again. And then I'm going to hit preview. And then you notice that nachos is no longer an option because I said I only needed 2 plates of nachos and 2 people submitted for nachos. So now as the next person going in, I only have the option of pizza, chips, veggies, fruit, and platter. Okay. So that works really well if you're trying to limit the time. So your classroom uses, you could be talking about if you were doing some sort of inviting parents in, but you wanted to do it on a scheduled basis, you could send out the link and say, here's the times, or I need volunteers for these dates. You only need 1 or 2 parents per time slot. You don't need 15 parents in your classroom at the same time. And so as parents logged in and filled out their form, some of the options that you had picked would just be eliminated as more people completed the form. So you can, and for your personal life, you might, again, some sort of banquet where people are bringing in food, or you're assigning responsibilities for a big project. Again, early bird gets the worm. And so people who fill out the form first will have the most options. Okay, so that's how we use Choice Eliminator. Love it. Okay, so what's our next option? Okay, form limiter. So if we wanted to end this, I use this a lot when I'm offering up PD sessions, when I'm bringing people from across the board together, and I need to book space, or at the very least, book food. And I need to have an idea well in advance so that I don't, send the caterer reeling with a huge order. And so a Choice Eliminator basically just ends my form, and then people can't access it after a certain date. So when I send out an email saying, well, I need to, if you're planning on attending PD, please complete the form by, I will often say, Thursday at 4 o'clock or Thursday at 1 o'clock. I can be very specific because I know that I can pick the exact time I'm going to lock out that form. And then my data, because it's a live form, it's always taking in answers from across the board. After Thursday at 1 o'clock, if that's the time that I pick, it won't take any more submissions. Then the people then have to contact me and say, I'm coming in late. Is it still okay? So that's a real lifesaver when you're working with space. Again, so you can do it 2 ways. I have it already added, so it's in my puzzle piece. But if you don't have it, you go to your 3 dots and click Add-Ons. Okay, so I'm going to limit this form Okay, so there's two ways you could do it. If you had a space of where if you had a maximum capacity space, you could say, you know what, the maximum number of form responses. So I only have computers for 28 people, so I can only have PD that will allow 28 people to come. So once the form registers at just 28 responses, it shuts it down. Okay, and then you can do date and time, and I've used both. So date and time. So on date and time, we just simply click that, the calendar pops up. So I'm going to say January 20th at 5 p.m. and it's kind of down below here, but you can see that little gray line. If you click on it, it's actually the save and enable button. So it defaults to the form is no longer accepting responses and has been set to automatically close by S1. Now, if I am able to, sometimes I say, please email me if the form is closed to discuss the PD options. So if somebody really wants to come to my PD and they have missed out on the date and they're trying to tell me they want to come, they now have to, let me click save and enable, they now have to contact me directly, okay? And you click exit. So now it'll shut down after a certain time. So that's extremely handy. And again, you can do it by the number of people that you want in attendance or by the date and time. Both, I've used both, and they both are really, it's really easy and it really helps me out. Okay, so form notifications. Form notifications will send an email to the person once they've responded. Okay, so you would need to have a question. So I'm going to add a question. So you would say your email, and I often put this in the form for this very reason. Please provide, oops, I'll have to do a description. I usually say, please provide your board email. And I might say, okay, so I think that should be good. Let's just test this. I don't use this one as much. So please provide your board email. Okay, so let's go into the form notifications. We're going to configure. And I don't need it to notify me, but I'm going to pick notify the respondents. And which question asks for their email? Well, that's the email. And then notification, thank you for filling out the form. Thank you for, and then in the body of the email, I'll say thank you for responding to our form. Just a reminder that you are required to bring your laptops, to the PD, sorry guys, to the PD session, okay? And then I hit save. And then as soon as the participant of that form completes it, then this will trigger an email to their board email or to whatever email address they provide with the message that I've given them that I just created. So that one works too. I use that sometimes, especially if it's something specific I want them to remember for a PD session. Okay, form values. Cannot tell you how important this one is. If you try no new add-ons today, I suggest at least trying form values because it will be a time saver. So you guys all get my PD sessions, my forms for PD sessions, and they all say, which school are you from? We have 16 schools in our board. Sometimes I send this to board staff as well. So there's 17 possible names that I could be typing out. I could make, you've seen me, I'm not even sitting correctly, so now I'm typing fast, I'm making errors, or I might forget, B.A. Parker or Beardmore, and then I've got to go back and count and make sure I have, 16 schools and all of that. So I don't have time for that. Nobody has time for that, especially when you're consistently using the same names. Imagine if you just, you had your class list and you were using this Google form for the whole year. Why would you type out Stacy, Tammy, Doug, Brenda, Sam every time as an option when you could just have it populate for yourself? So it takes a little bit of setup time. up front. And by a little bit, I mean however long it takes you to type in the names you want, and then you never have to do it again. And I use this every time. So I love form values. So you click on, so I would ask the question. So I have the question here, school. Okay, so back before I knew about form values, I would have, checked multiple choice, and I would have typed in all the different schools. You don't have to do that. You just have to make sure that you select multiple choice. That's all you need to do. Go back up to your add-ons, and we go to form values. So you can use and create choices here. Okay, you can create and edit the value list. So if you have a new value list that you want to create, so maybe you want to use this for all your hockey players, or the jersey numbers that you've got stored in the gym locker room, or all your staff, but then, next semester the staff changes. So you want to just sort of edit the list for next semester, whatever. So you can create a list at any time or edit a list. So you are going to, which question do you want to populate? And so the question I was asking it to populate is school. And I have options here. I already have some value lists created, and I have all schools, including the board. I have schools, and then I have just my secondary schools. So I'm going to type in, select schools, and hit submit, and say okay, and look at this. Awesome, right? So it populates that option for me right off the bat. I never have to do that anymore. Okay. If you change your mind, I just want to do secondary schools, refresh. I'm thinking I can do it this way. Okay, so my list is wrong. So I have to fix my list. But anyways, so there are my do schools on the board, submit. And you can see board pops up at the bottom. So it took me not even a second to click that versus having to go in and type that every time. So I would suggest, if you're going to try any of these, learn form values, and it's super easy. If you want to see, we can do really quick here. We can go into form values. Oops. Form values. And I can create and edit my list. And right here is where you're going to have to type in, you can see where I've got the different lists going on. And excuse me. So you have, you're not limited by just 3. Those are just the ones I use every time. I am part of an organization in Northwestern Ontario. I could list all the boards that I partner with. I could list the names of all the people on some of my committees. So it is a real time saver. Okay. What else do we have? So that's form values. Okay, so let's go to, you've got this wonderful data that gets created when you use forms. You all know about that. And so how can you make this work for you? So all of your data that it comes onto a sheet like this, and all of your questions are across the top. For those of you that don't know and don't spend a lot of time in Sheets has been absolutely transformative for me. It just allows me to have all my data at my fingertips, but it can look really awkward. And you can see here, it's actually pretty easy to read, because what I did, rather than have these long columns that you can't, like these really narrow columns where you have to be sliding all over the place, I just basically I highlight what I want, and then I went to wrap text, and it makes the text so much easier to read. Okay, so that's a tip there. So what's the first thing I wanted to do? Oh, right. Okay, so I wanted to do remove blank rows. And again, you'd go to add-ons, and then you could just do remove blank rows. Okay. Self-explanatory. Once you run it, it'll take all the blank rows out of your spreadsheet. In this case, I want to show you how I can do, what if I wanted to break down all this data and just work and have like each one of these questions could be their own tab, because right now everything's all on one big page. So that's really great. So I want to know, here's the data for the board. Instead of having to sort through and go, okay, Nikina was over here. I guess I could put it in alphabetical order, but it's not really collated really nice. I love this tool. It's called Roll Call. And what it will do is it will make additional tabs for the data that you pick. So if you go to Add-Ons and you click on Roll Call and you click Start, okay, it's going to ask you which column are you actually trying to put onto separate tabs. Well, no, I don't want my timestamp. But you know what? Let's say I want, why is not, okay, so obviously I made a mistake today. That's not 28, it should have been school. I'm gonna exit that. I don't know why 28 is up there. It should be school. Try that again. So we're gonna go to Add-Ons. We're gonna go to Roll Call. And I wanna see the data that is set for the schools. And I'm going to select sort. Look what happens to my PD here, to all of my data around PD. So now I still didn't lose my main form because that never goes away. And that's always going to be the heart of all your data. But now I can sort of dig deeper based on the responses of each school or each teacher, I guess, that participated in the response. So if I click on Manitowaj, I can see here that Jamie responded. If I click on Margaret Toomey, I can see that 2 people responded. So not only do I still have my main page, I now have data broken down based on the selection criteria that I picked, which is what do schools within our board want? Okay, and so I can see all that different data. And again, you never ever lose your main page. Okay. So before we exit for today, I'm just trying to think what else did I want to show you. The resource today has all of this explained in each one of the sheets. So if you forget what roll call was, I describe it. I explain why you might use it. There's a tutorial video of how to use it on each slide. And then the link at the top, the name of the extension is highlighted in blue because it takes you to the actual Chrome store. So everything we talked about today is in here. Now I just want to show you one more really quick trick that has nothing to do with an extension. It's just, I didn't know this. So if we can share, if I can share this little piece of knowledge, then, okay, so here is a spreadsheet of our one word. And let's say I really wanted to break down my answers. And if you're a visual learner, this could be really useful. So you wanted to break down your data based on, oops, what did I do? Based on the role. Like I want to see very quickly how many staff participated and how many students participated. It's called conditional formatting, and you can actually color code your answers, okay? So we could do it by staff. I could do it by school. So I'm going to highlight this column here. Oh, wow, guys, good job. Over 83 respondents. And then I go into format, and I select conditional formatting. So it already knows because I've highlighted the range that it's going to be working in. And then here's my options. Format the cells if, and I'm going to say text contains. And I want to, so now I need to tell it, well, what text? So I'm going to type in Terrace Bay, and I want Terrace Bay to be this color. Oops. And hit done. Okay. I'm going to do another. Those are called rules. So I'm going to add a new rule. I'm going to, oops, I think I might need to highlight this again. Okay. I'm going to say text contains, and I'm going to say it has to have, I want to highlight, and I want it to say Dorian. And this time I want the color to be this color. Oh, it didn't work because my highlighting had come off. Okay. Again, text contains, and I'm going to say, I think, what do we got going on here? We got Red Rock, and I want it to be red, and hit done. So anywhere there is a school, one of the entries that says Red Rock, it'll turn it red. I'll do one more, add a new rule. And again, cell is not empty. We're changing that to text contains. It's still selected the range, so we know it's working. And I'm going to say it has to have the word Marjorie in it. And we're going to pick purple and hit done. Okay, so if you cross out here and then you take a look at your document, I can very quickly see, based on the criteria that I selected, the different schools that have participated. So you can see if somebody, if you look at some of the options, we'll go back to conditional formatting. You could have, what the date is before and the date after. You can use that for some of your scenarios. What if the answer is greater than or less to? So you could assess something with math. So if the answer is less than 5, then the answer is wrong. If it's greater than 6, then the answer is wrong. If it's equal to, if you're doing some sort of spelling test, you could have if the text contains, or text is exactly, because it's spelling. So you can really see very quickly when you're doing a form, if visually, if your students or your learners are on the right page. So anyways, today's resources will be emailed out to everybody. This video has been recorded, and so it will be available on the YouTube channel playlist. So I hope you found today useful, and that's all there is to being a more efficient worker with Google Forms and Google Sheets. Thank you.